Hey everyone, Duckbricks here. Thank you for tuning in. I want to preface this video by saying that it turned out a lot longer than I thought it would, so I figured I'd put a table of contents up at the start of the screen and down in the description for people wanting to just hear about certain themes. You'll notice that I have timestamps to every single one of the new releasing themes coming out today on March 1st, right here. Or if you just want to hear my recommendations for different price ranges, the timestamp is there as well for near the end of the video, where I essentially run down what is the best set that you can buy for $20 or below, $30, $40, etc. Kind of just giving recommendations there, but if you want to stay and see the whole thing, see my thoughts on every single one of the new March 1st, 2021 sets, well then stick around and let's just start off the video right now. Hey there, thank you for tuning into Duckbricks. I'm Chris, and well, every single Monday we usually have an episode of Construction Conversation scheduled. But that's been postponed to Wednesday, and there's a reason why. You see, today is March 1st, which is a host of new LEGO releases for 2021. In fact, for this year in 2021, we are getting a ton more LEGO set releases today than we usually get at this time, specifically because Ninjago's waves were split up for Legacy and Season 14, which is just coming out now, as well as Monkey Kid having a strong showing for March 1st rather than its typical May release, which started last year. From a few new LEGO Star Wars sets, to a ton of exciting Ninjago releases, a new Creator Expert car, some brand new Monkey Kid sets, a couple new Brickheadz Pets releases, and even a brand new minifigure-based, semi-licensed new theme launch, there is a crazy amount of new sets being released today, so join me as we take a look at every single new LEGO 2021 set being released for the first time pretty much worldwide on March 1st, which is today. I'll also be counting down my favorites at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that, and I hope you all enjoy. So as I mentioned, the first set is actually kind of a special exception. This set was already available for a few weeks, except that now it's available publicly. Originally, it was only available for VIPs. It is the newest Creator Expert car. The last car that we got was the Ecto 1, which arguably is, arguably isn't a Creator Expert car because, of course, it is licensed. This is probably one of my favorite cars that they've done for the line because of just how many functions they managed to pack in. You'll notice when you move the wheels, stuff on the top and actually spins around and goes back and forth. Really cool functions for builds that typically do not have any functions whatsoever. So I'm pretty excited for whatever time they do some more functions in the future. That being said, this one does have a gimmick, but it's not because of a function. You see on screen here, the car is actually a 2-in-1. You can choose which car to build out of the existing parts in the set, which means that some LEGO completionists will probably have to buy two. But you can take a look right now at all of the additional images and see what kinds of models are included in this set. Right up here is set number 10295, the Porsche 911. It costs $149.99 US dollars, so basically $150 US. In euros, it costs 130 euros and 120 pounds. These really place it around the nice price point of anywhere between $150 to $170 if you do your conversion right. Some countries have it worse off than others, with the price correlating to almost $200 US, but in terms of the price, I'd say it's pretty much in line with most of the other Creator Expert vehicles. They're pretty much all around this price range, so nothing too out of the ordinary here. In terms of unique pieces, I can already immediately see a transparent orange curve piece being used for the headlight. We previously got that piece being introduced in transparent clear for the Manchester United Stadium, and it actually is really nice to be able to see that that's getting more unique recolors, especially in this very vibrant and rare transparent color. As far as the rest of the vehicle, it of course is using the most advanced building techniques that they can do for a car like this. I personally really appreciate how the door closes against the side of the vehicle. They recently upgraded the Creator Expert car building technique such that when you close the door, it actually creates a very seamless flush against the other competing parts. So really you're not going to be seeing any sort of angles jutting out like that. It's just really completely flush. The other thing is that it looks like it's introducing a brand new rim piece. You can see that right here, right above the wheel, this piece is designed to fit seamlessly alongside the existing slope piece, which is in the middle there, and acts almost like the archway piece that we already have, except without studs showing on the top, which is very interesting. I can't wait to see how they use this piece in future sets. It looks like a really useful piece, and even continuing alongside even more useful pieces, this looks to have a brand new piece on the back of the car as well. I don't know if this has been created specifically for this model, because typically Creator Expert cars don't really get too many new molds outside of just maybe a windscreen here or there. But this piece looks like it was custom made for this car. It's really interesting, a large curved element on the back here. Very curious to see if that will show up in future sets. I can definitely see this archway piece showing up in something like, say, the UCS style probe droid that we're getting on May 4th for the Star Wars line. But other than that, I can't spy anything immediately too interesting just by this first image, although it is already really interesting seeing those two brand new molds debuting in a Creator Expert car. I will definitely be getting this one on day one. In fact, I already did order this one because it was available for VIPs as early as February 17, 2021. But with that covered, let's move on to the stuff that are actually releasing for the first time on March 1st, not just this set, which was technically already out, but was only available for VIP members. And as I mentioned in the start of the video, Ninjago got a ton of legacy releases for January 1st, because this year is the 10th anniversary of Ninjago. We got stuff like the X1 Ninja Charger, Zane's Titan Mech all the way in the back, all sorts of really neat stuff. But that was all legacy stuff, so nothing for the new season, which is called The Island. At the time of this recording, we're not really sure whether The Island is actually a season or a special. It appears to be only 4 episodes or 45 minutes long, so I'd lean towards calling it a special. Tommy Anderson, the creator of Ninjago, has quoted on Twitter saying that fans like to call these seasons 14 and 15. No idea what he means by that. I've seen official LEGO channels call it season 3, which makes no sense to me because, sure, maybe Ninjago had some sort of a restart after season 10, but if you count season 11 as season 1, season 12 as season 2, then why was season 13 not season 3? Then should this be season 4? Unless they're grouping it back within season 13. It's kind of confusing. I wish they'd just call it season 14 or 15 and use the exact numbers, because all the fans use the old numbering from the TV show, because it's not a hard reboot. Anyway, I digress. We'll be getting quite a few new LEGO Island sets themed for Ninjago. I really actually do like a lot of these because they remind me of the classic LEGO Islanders sub-theme of LEGO Pirates all the way back when. But let's take a look right now and see what they're all about. Funnily enough, the first set that we're going to start off with is not actually part of Season 14, The Island. It's instead another Legacy set, except this time it is a 4+ or Junior style set based off of an original Tournament of Elements set from all the way back in 2015. This is, of course, set number 71740, Jay's Electro Mech. Retailing for $20 US, comes with 2 minifigures, both of which we have actually seen in sets before, so unfortunately, nothing special in terms of the minifigures here. Jay, for whatever reason, does not have the actual correct tournament suit. He has the tournament body and legs from Legacy, but he is just wearing the standard hood. I presume that this is because the half hood piece was considered too hard of an element for younger kids to put on, so they decided to just give him the hood, which is easier for really kids in the 4+ age range to just place on a figure's head, so I kind of understand that. What is kind of funny about this is that the set has been kind of the subject of many memes. For example, it's T-posing on all of the official images in the box, and it's not because articulation is limited. For whatever reason, they just decided to make it like that for all of the official images outside of the one on the back of the box. And the other thing is that what's kind of interesting is that they've introduced a new juniorized mech leg piece. I presume that this is so they can do more junior style mechs like this one in the future, so definitely would be interested to see kind of what other subject matters that they choose for Legacy to depict in Junior's form. I just hope that at some point down the line they'll actually make a legitimate Legacy version of this set, really because I'm hoping that it'll follow the trend of, say, Kai's Fire Dragon, which just about 2 years ago they released the Legacy Kai's Fire Dragon as a 4+ junior set for around like $10 or so. Really kind of funny looking and small next to the original. But this summer, what just leaked was that we actually are getting a full version of a Legacy Kai's Fire Dragon from the Season 0 pilots and Season 1 Rise of the Snakes, complete with fully vinyl wings and everything. I can't show a picture, of course, because it's a leak, but it looks fantastic, and I hope that they're following this trend of depicting 4+ Legacy sets first, and then coming back to them later on with actual full-on legacy sets. Outside of this, though, honestly nothing too much to see here. Unless you're a hardcore Ninjago fan or completionist, I probably would not recommend picking this one up. Again, because the minifigures are figures that you can get in really any other set, especially that one Anachondrite Izor minifigure there has been really used quite a few times just in this year's wave of sets. This is the third set he's appearing in, so nothing too special. Maybe if you wanted to get the set for parts, they have the new armor piece in dark blue, which is going to be very interesting for mocking purposes. And they've also, of course, got this new leg piece, which I'm actually kind of excited to see what actual mech builders do with that, if people will actually figure out good usages for that very bulky and juniorized piece. So, kind of curious about that. Otherwise, nothing special here. We can probably move on to the much more interesting stuff, which are, of course, the Season 14 Island sets. Alright, for this next one, I know what you're going to say. Haven't we gotten way too many Ninjago bikes already? It's always a recurring joke that Ninjago just keeps on redoing the bike sets over and over again. And actually, designers have addressed this directly. They're more able to do unique and different things for the larger price points because people who are already fans of Ninjago will be more likely to get those. For the smaller price points, though, they try to make stuff as entry points to the Ninjago theme. And what every kid loves is a bike, which is why so many $20 Ninjago sets have been bikes. However, this one I actually think is very unique, and I'm here to make a case for why it may actually be one of the best Ninjago motorcycles that has ever come out. You see, this one actually has a lot of really unique stuff going for it. First of all, it's got an entire sail cloth piece on the top of the bike that's certainly very unique. It doubles as a flying vehicle, which is very cool. And you also have the only appearance for Nia this season, or this wave. I presume it's because we'll be getting a lot of Nia this summer, especially because this summer is her season, Seabound. So we're going to be getting a lot of different variants of her, one even with transparent hair, which is what I'm really looking forward to. But focusing back on this wave, it's the only place you can get her. Sure, that Lloyd figure will become relatively commonplace because he does appear in quite a few other sets, but this actually does do a lot of really unique things, adding on to the fact that we get a very unique villain minifigure with a nice printed shield and one of the collectibles for this wave, the amulet. This is a pretty solid set, I will say. Obviously, for a Ninjago completionist like me who buys every set, it's a no-brainer to get this one, but I can definitely see there being slightly more exciting sets out there. If you're just looking to collect the figures though, this one kind of is a must-have because it's the only one that has this particular version of Nia, which is both good and bad. I at least like the fact that she's only appearing in a smaller set, because sometimes they restrict Nia to the most expensive or largest sets only. Kind of a strange thing for them to do in my opinion, but thankfully she is appearing in this $20 set, so if people do want this minifigure, they can get it. Coming up next, we have a new Ninjago dragon. We usually get at least 1 or 2 dragons every single year, and this year is no different. We're actually getting 3 this year if you count the 2 coming this summer. But this one's actually pretty unique because for $40, this is 71746, the Jungle Dragon, and this one is actually in teal. We've never actually gotten a dragon in teal before, or really any teal-focused build in Ninjago, so it's really nice to see this color being used. What's also interesting is that we're getting a ton of unique teal recolors, which, for the Bionicle fans in the audience, will very much come in handy for the canon contest for Lariska, whose canon color is teal. But going back to this actual build itself, I will say that this is a very unique dragon. They really haven't done anything like this before. The designer actually stated that they were influenced by looking at dogs wagging their tails and the way that they curve their backs, and that's how they got the facial expression with the tongue hanging out here. So a very cute creature, definitely not something that's similar to anything Ninjago's ever done. What is really nice is that we're actually getting what seems to be a new head mold on the top half of the head here, and it's actually using the Overlord Dragon headpiece on the bottom in a recolor for this dark tan color right here. So it's pretty nice to get that in a new color, definitely for the mockists in the audience. The only thing that I will say does kind of bug me about this dragon is that it is a $40 dragon, it's pretty substantial, and the wings are just these very simple spikes They're very reminiscent of LEGO's old wing technique from 2011. I feel like we've kind of evolved past that already. The Overlord Dragon did it too for some reason, and I really just would have hoped that they would have instead done some sort of a vinyl or fabric piece for the wings, even if it's just something small. They demonstrated that they can do it in Wu's Battle Dragon just last year, which was a very small dragon, smaller than this one, but still had a set of vinyl wings. Unfortunately, for a set of this size, there is only one unique minifigure, and really only the unique thing about him is the head. You see, of course, Lloyd appeared in the bike. He also appears in some of the other stuff, but then we've also got Zane, who appears in the Catamaran Sea Battle. The masked warrior there appears in the Keeper's Village and the Sea Battle. What is unique, though, is that this actually has a new character. It seems like he'll be maybe a comedic relief character or a funny-looking one. It's a two-headed character, but he's literally just using two heads stacked on top of each other, kind of similar to these stone statues, so a really unique concept for a villain for sure. I'm excited to see exactly how that will look in the show itself, but it definitely is very interesting to get. That being said, though, he shares the same torso and legs as the other villains, so it's really not too unique. This does include a small, very tiny side build for Zane's little mini catamaran or raft. Funnily enough, usually these really strange and small side builds never actually appear in the show, but this one actually has been seen multiple times in the trailer. I'm guessing it's probably because there's only 4 sets for this wave, so they probably just decided to do the best that they could and said, hey, every single build that's in the sets, let's just throw them into the show and throw in multiples. As we can see in the trailers, the Jungle Chopper bike appears multiple times, as does the Catamaran Sea Battle. All in all, though, for $40, this is a pretty decent Ninjago dragon. It kind of reminds me of the Unigami dragon we got last year at a similar price point, although I will say that this one is a lot more expressive and is a lot better than that set. So would I recommend it? Maybe, but there are better $40 sets that we'll be getting to later on in this video. But with that, we can move on to the third Ninjago Island set. Now this one has gone on a lot of people's radars, especially a lot of AFOL's radars, for being really great in terms of having kind of a throwback feel to the original Islanders sets like I mentioned before. Ninjago very rarely does these unique building sculpture type sets, so it's really nice to be able to see this one. And it's a very unique building too. It's closest to the Tiger Widow Island, which appeared as a Skybound set, but this one actually has a lot more unique detailing, featuring a stone pillar, which can be seen in the trailer, coming alive. What is really great about this set is the price for what you get. It is only $50. I would have thought that this would be something closer to $60 or even $70 in any other theme, but no, this is only $50, which is a great price for a very unique location build. And this one actually does have another unique minifigure. It is the only place where you can get the island version of Cole. So it is nice to see him there. Unfortunately, he doesn't appear in any of the other sets of this wave, which really is a shame, especially because they even recolored the original movie hairpiece for this theme, so it is nice to see him. Then again, though, it's not going to break the bank. If you're looking for a full ninja team, it's only $50, so it's not too bad, and it does include the main villain for this season, Chief Mimetius, who only also appears in the Catamaran Sea Battle. All in all, this is a very unique set, probably one of my favorites out of this entire wave, just because of how unique it is, and because of the fact that we rarely ever get Ninjago-based building sets, and we usually tend to stick to the cars and the motorcycles and the jets, so this is a welcome breath of fresh air. But then moving on to the final set for this wave of Ninjago, we've got the Catamaran Sea Battle set number 71748, retailing for $70. This one is another one that I feel is relatively good or decent value, although maybe not quite as good of a value as the previous set. The other thing is that none of the minifigures in the largest set of the wave are exclusive to the set, which again is also good and bad. We've got the Islander minifigures appearing in the previous sets, the Chief figure, as we just covered, appears in the Island set, and Kai, Zane, and Jay also all appear in the other sets. So really, the only thing that you'd be wanting to get this for if you're a minifigure collector is just to maybe boost up the Tribal Warriors. That being said, this does have very unique builds, and I always appreciate it when LEGO Ninjago tries to kind of break the mold and do unique things. Rather than giving us the umpteenth motorcycle or car or jet, these are actually very unique builds, and they're very visually distinct as well. The Catamaran on the villain side of course, features teal as the accent color, which is very interesting. It's a very, very unique design, kind of a callback to the previous catamarans we got for the Islanders line of pirates, but it's a very unique set. I really do love the cloth or vinyl piece that they've done for the sail as well. The amount of holes in it make it feel very lived in and tattered, which I think looks really cool. Add to the fact that we're actually getting some new recolors in this set. We're getting some purple bolt blasters, if there's any interest in that, and as well as we're getting some teal Mystica wings from Bionicles. That's really nice to see here, and it's all in all a pretty decent and unique set. Kai's catamaran, or more specifically the Ninja's catamaran on the other hand, because of course there are multiple versions of this featured in the trailer for all of the Ninja, is decently built, although there's nothing too crazy going on. I much prefer the look of the villain one because it's actually a lot more substantial. It's got some more unique building techniques with some sideways arches looking like wood pillars, whatnot. This one just seems like more of a standard build. Funnily enough, it's also our second aquatic Kai vehicle. We first got a submarine or boat in Season 8 Sons of Garmadon, which the writers actually admitted they had no idea what to do with. But it seems that this one actually is getting featured quite a lot in the new trailer, so it definitely is the main quote-unquote hero vehicle for the season, so I'm interested to see it in action. All in all, if you're looking for a unique set that has some fun callbacks to original LEGO themes, I would recommend this. But then again, it's probably not the best $70 price range set on this list. But with these sets, we've about summed up the new Ninjago releases for Season 14. Again, not a lot being released this year, only 4 for the new season and then 1 junior set, which doesn't really count, so basically just 5 sets in total. Kind of a smaller wave, but we are very much spoiled by the January wave, so we're actually getting a lot more than usual if you kind of group these all together. And yes, I know all of the Season 15 / Ninjago Seabound sets leaked. Didn't even officially leak. I mean, an official retailer posted images of all the summer sets. I can't talk about them. I can't show them. I don't want to get in trouble with LEGO, but they're out there if you want to see them. And I certainly have some thoughts. I really just can't dedicate a video to it because that would constitute as covering leaks. So, sorry, when we get official images, I will be publishing the video sharing my thoughts. I've actually already recorded it because I can see very clearly all the images of the new sets. I just can't say anything about it. So, if you want to see them, they're out there. I won't say anything about them for now. They're probably going to be releasing around May or June in Europe and probably closer to August or September in the US, following traditional LEGO releases. So the next item we have up here releasing for March 2021 are new brick sketches. So these are the older brick sketches. You can actually see 2 more right there. They actually have a pretty neat story behind them. They were conceptualized as fan creations or mocks by AFOL designer Chris McVeigh, and when he was hired by the LEGO Group, they actually took an interest in the mocks that he posted online and decided to make them into actual sets. Every single set includes a foreword and a picture of him as the designer as a fan project that actually was created into a set outside of official channels like the LEGO Ideas program. So it's a really cool story, and these are actually pretty nice portraits. Unfortunately bungled by an awful price tag. I don't know what LEGO was thinking, but for some reason, these are not $5, they're not $10, and they're not even $15. You see, they launched as $20, which I think is pretty crazy. If a Brickheads alone is $10, Brickheads have almost double the piece count of these, sometimes triple the piece count. They're even about the same size, and Brickheads, you get a whole face and body as well. These ones, you just get something like a face. While they're very well built, obviously the designer is very skilled, I have no idea what LEGO was thinking with the price point. Clearly these were not selling well at all because actually very recently they officially changed the price point to $17. This is actually really rare. It's not a sale or anything. They literally had to change the official price down from 20 to 17 just to see if people would buy these. And I think that's pretty much unheard of for a LEGO product. It's very rare that they actually go back in and change the price of something, but clearly it was warranted for these. Now, the brand new ones that are launching, which are the Mickey and Minnie Mouse ones, are also priced down to $17. Personally, I really wish these were closer to $10. I can't see these being worth more than a Brickheads just in terms of the amount of bricks that are included. And I honestly would have taken even like a $7 or $8 price tag because these are really small portraits and certainly not worth 20. 17, still a bit of a stretch. So to be honest, for me, I'm probably going to hold off on buying these $17 brick sketches until a later date. I typically try to stock up some sets that I want to set aside for later GWPs when there are no new releases and I just need something to buy. The $17 Minnie and Mickey brick sketches are prime material for that kind of category, something I don't necessarily need right now. I will collect it because I do collect pretty much everything LEGO does, but definitely not until much, much later. And maybe I might even hold off until a sale because honestly, they're just not worth $17 to me, despite being actually really cute and nice portraits. I mean, you can see just how well it's built. This one in particular, the Joker one, uses some surprising build techniques that actually presents a much more layered design than you might think at first. The way the teeth are constructed, the eyes and the ears, everything is really, really nicely built. Some surprisingly complex building techniques packed into here, but it's just simply not worth the price. So would I recommend getting them at launch? Probably not. There's a high chance they go on sale, and if they don't go on sale, if they still continue to not sell at $17, maybe LEGO will even bring it down to $15, who knows. But taking a look at these sets in question, they are perfectly charming builds, and they're actually really nicely done portraits of the characters. Obviously, there is the whole issue of the price, but honestly, I don't have too much to say about these. The most interesting thing parts-wise are the round circle pieces that they used for the cheeks. This is a relatively new piece that just debuted last year, and to my knowledge, this is the first time we're actually getting it like that without printing. They used it for stuff like the Minion set for eyes and whatnot, so definitely nice to get an unprinted version to use in mocks, but other than that, nothing too crazy going on here. Obviously, the building techniques are quite good, but I don't see many new parts, recolors, or rare parts for that matter other than those. Next up on the docket, we have a few new LEGO Minecraft sets that are being released on March 1st. For whatever reason, these were held off from the January 1st release wave of Minecraft sets. In that wave, we got stuff like the Pig House and the Coral Reef, but for whatever reason, they're not actually selling these until March 1st, and these are specifically correlated, or at least one of them is correlated to the brand new Minecraft update. Funnily enough, I actually didn't used to have any interest in LEGO Minecraft. My interest was slightly reinvigorated because a group of college friends and I decided to relive the old days and start up another Minecraft server and just hang out together. So that kind of brought back a lot of nostalgia for me, got me to start buying the sets. And what I actually really like about them is how modular they are and how every set can basically be combined with any other set from the past, which is something that's really nice. The other thing I really love about LEGO Minecraft is the fact that it's one of LEGO's only, I'd say it's kind of almost like an original theme, because while it is LEGO Minecraft, it is a license, all of the builds that LEGO does, or most of the builds, are pretty original, I will say. And they're pretty unique. Sure, some of them are stuff that you can see in the game, like the Ocean Temple, for example, but a lot of stuff is just stuff that LEGO designers thought up of on their own. Like you've got this cozy house right here, you've got a whole fortress build over here, and you've even got something like this pig house, which is completely out of nowhere and something that's really cute and unique. So that's why I really do like LEGO Minecraft, and with these two new sets, we are getting the first one right here. It is based off of the new Nether update, which launched last year, featuring for the first time a brand new mob and a few new monsters as well. Let's take a look. Alright, so there's only two sets for this wave of Minecraft. The first one right up here is set number 21168, the Warped Forest, retailing for approximately $30. You can see we have a brand new mold for a piglin head right there. It's a very funny looking minifigure head mold that's basically just a pig head onto a minifigure, so I do actually quite like that mold. It looks really good compared to what's in the game, pretty much 100% accurate. And we also have a new figure that is not just the standard Steve or Alex that we always get. Thankfully, it is a brand new figure with a new print and a new head, as well as metallic gold legs to represent the golden leggings that would be necessary to venture into the Nether. We also have a brand new mob being featured in this set, the Hoglin. Unfortunately, this one I will say is a little hit or miss. It's a little bit awkward how the tusks are formed by this gray panel right here, which clearly shows the gray just going through the entire head. I don't really know how they would have done it without making an entirely new mold for the head, and we already are getting a new mold in this set, so I can see why they did it. it also looks like this actually does have a function, which I do actually really like. You can see that it's a very simple one. When you press that black piece up at the top there, the head will swing and kind of hit the player. It's a very simple function, but I actually do like how that black lever actually also doubles as some of the hair on the back of their heads, so I actually do really like how well that is integrated. As far as the build is concerned, I will say that in-game this doesn't make too much sense. Specifically, that hog creature will not spawn or will not appear in this warp forest biome. They actually are programmed to avoid it. They stay away from this biome. They do not like the mushrooms or something like that. So it wouldn't really make any sense that they would be hanging around here. That being said, I actually do like the choice of this because, for one, we get a lot more teal and some teal recolors, and secondly, the other choice of forest, which probably would have made more sense for the mobs, which is the Crimson Forest, is a lot less visually interesting than this. While this has purple and teal as the trees, that one pretty much just has brown and red, so obviously this is the more interesting subject material. I'm glad that LEGO did this. It also seems that there is some sort of a lava falling function. I can't quite tell just from this image, but it looks pretty simple. I'm guessing those lava blocks will just stack and cause it to overflow. So nothing too crazy going on here. One of the trees looks like it's also mounted on a Technic function to be toppled, so that's actually a pretty cool function as well. I definitely would be interested to see how well that works. And in general, it's a pretty solid, smaller Minecraft set. Obviously, for people who are not fans of the Minecraft line or really know nothing about the game, I'm not really sure how much this will do for you, other than the teal recolors, which may be actually very useful for some Rock Raiders mocks. Which makes it actually a pretty good parts pack, even if you know absolutely nothing about Minecraft. And those figures are sure to be pretty rare. I don't think they'd appear in many other sets, so if you don't care at all about Minecraft but want the teal parts, maybe it would actually make sense to get this, sell the figures, and just repurpose the pieces. Or use bricks and pieces, really whatever you prefer.
The most interesting thing about the second set to me is that the scale is particularly made to stack with other vertically tall chunks of Minecraft builds that we've gotten in the past. If we take a look right in there in the back, you'll notice that we've got some interesting builds in the back there. One of the first ones that we ever got was this original mine set all the way back when Minecraft first launched. To date, they've included a Bedrock Adventure set, which is that one right there, fit at approximately the same height and scale, and this newer set seems to fit right in with these other sets, which is really nice to see some sort of backwards compatibility here.
But you know what the best thing about it is? The previous set approximately at this size, which was this set right here, the Bedrock Adventures, I mean, you can guess how much this is, right? Maybe 60, 70 if pushing it. No. This was $90, 90 US dollars, ridiculously overpriced. It was the last taller sculpture that we got. I have no idea why it was this expensive. Maybe you could say that it was because it introduced the new Silverfish mold, but it's a pretty small mold and only includes one new mold. So yeah, I really have no idea why this particular set was so expensive. And it was really crazy when it came out, and a lot of people were complaining about just how expensive this relatively just smaller to decent sized set was. Well, thankfully for 2021, this new First Adventure set has fixed that, despite having a relatively similar piece count in the 500 to 600 piece range. The price is just so much cheaper than this $90 set while retaining the same exact height, or at least a very similar height, and backwards compatibility with this model. In fact, this new set is only $60 compared to this $90 set, despite packing in a lot more new and unique mobs, as well as having approximately the same size. So good on LEGO for updating the price there. It's basically a newer and better version of this, and cheaper, so it's really great. So, speaking of the set itself, this is the First Adventure, retailing for $60 and coming with 542 pieces. Obviously, this is just one configuration of it. It seems that you can actually configure it in different scenarios and make it even taller if you wish. What is kind of interesting about this is that all of the mobs in this set are not vanilla or standard Minecraft mobs. In fact, they appear to be based off of the Planet Minecraft minigame or subgame. I'm not entirely sure what that's all about, but these are not the normal mobs that you would see just wandering around the world. We've got a yellow mushroom, a sheep with some sort of modification like horns or whatnot on the sides, and we've got a special purple colored cat. Now, personally, I'm not the most familiar with exactly what these mobs originate from, other than the fact that I believe that they are not from the base game and instead from Planet Minecraft, which appears to be a relatively newer initiative. Outside of the characters and mobs included, obviously, you just got a standard Steve and Alex because, well, it is the first adventure. It does kind of make sense to include these standard characters. This one does have a few interesting functions. You've got a water elevator, so a Technic lever on the back allows you to push the water up. And you've got parts of a minecart kind of going through the cave here, which is meant to also be compatible with the aforementioned Bedrock Adventures and Original Mine. So, all in all, it's a pretty decent set, I will say. Obviously, it's kind of your basic starter set for Minecraft, despite having all these kind of crazy and unique mobs. It really just includes basically what you would expect to see in a starter pack, which is pretty nice. And I don't have too much else to say about it. The build is pretty simple and standard compared to what we've gotten before. Some exploding features or mining features scattered throughout, but really pretty basic. Honestly, just a great expansion to existing builds. However, if you do happen to own any of the other previous sets already approximately around this size, if you already paid for those, I don't necessarily know if getting this one is the smartest investment. It doesn't really add anything new compared to the previous ones, unlike, say, the Bedrock Adventure set, which was, of course, as I mentioned, a lot more expensive, but did at least include a new mold for the Silverfish. Regardless, if you do have an interest in LEGO Minecraft and do want to get the new mobs, this set does have them, but again, there's going to be better $60 price range sets on this list.
Next up, strangely enough, we're getting just 2 new LEGO Marvel sets for 2021, March 1st. I have no idea why these did not release with the January wave. Kind of perplexing to me because we got a ton of Spider-Man sets like this monster truck in the January wave. It would have made perfect sense to launch alongside those, but maybe LEGO just wanted to have something to release in March, so they held the largest set back, which is of course Attack on the Spider Lair. Unfortunately, this is nothing too special unless you're a minifigure collector like myself, so I will be getting it, although the build is pretty much stuff that we've just seen a dozen times before in a ton of different sets. You've got your standard computer screen layout, which is basically what every single Batcave does. You've got a suit changing area, so all of the Iron Man suit expansions, basically the same exact build there, and you've got a little jail cell like every other Batcave. It's nothing too special, although what is interesting is that we've never actually gotten a Spider-Man lair before. We've usually only gotten strange vehicles for him, so I will welcome any and all location builds that we get. We do get a host of new minifigures here, so it is worthwhile getting for collectors, but the build at least is nothing too special.
Alright, so here is set number 76175, Attack on the Spider Lair for 466 pieces. It retails for $70. Oh, that is rough. However, though, it does come with a few new minifigures. We've got a new version of Peter Parker, a comic-styled version rather than the MCU one that we got previously, so it is pretty nice to see that, as well as the Ultimate Spider-Man suit, as well as a brand new version of Green Goblin. Unfortunately, the Venom in this set is the standard one that we have been getting for the past few years, and the Spider-Man is new for 2021 but appears in pretty much every other set. However, what is kind of interesting is that Venom uses the new Blade piece, which was introduced for the Eternals sets, which were actually supposed to come out last year when the movie was supposed to come out last year. Now the movie's been delayed till November because of COVID. We still don't know how many more delays it has left, probably even more, so we don't know when exactly we're going to be seeing the Eternals sets, but it's funny seeing recolors of pieces introduced for those sets already popping up in different sets. The Ninjago wave this summer also will have them in new colors, so kind of funny to see that. Otherwise, looking at the build, one thing that I do really like about it is the use of the rounded pieces implementing some sort of a dish-shaped pattern underneath all of the curved floorboards. It does something a little bit unique in that regard. A lot of other bases are typically just rectangles and angled in certain ways. This one actually is trying out some unique stuff, so I do appreciate that. The screens, though, are pretty standard, just stickers on top of transparent blue stuff, so really just regular stuff, nothing too special here. I do like the inclusion of some fun pieces like the basketball hoop there. That's a pretty fun inclusion, as well as some basketballs and even a catapult to shoot them into. And it is nice to see a rack for all of the suits. I always love it when LEGO sets do that. But honestly, this is a pretty generic build outside of a few minor things that make it unique. And again, that $70 price range is not doing it any favors. Actually, if we compare these to some of the other sets that came previously on this list, that Ninjago set for $50, the Keeper's Village, has 632 pieces. This has 466 for $70, which is absolutely crazy. Yes, I know that sure, maybe you could count those large dish pieces as being slightly more expensive to make because they're larger pieces, but then again, the Keeper's Village also has some quite large pieces and new prints as well, so I don't really know why this is so expensive. Typically, a lot of people like to claim that, oh, it's because of the Disney tax or the license tax. While there is a bit of that in play here, sometimes they're priced well, so I'm not really sure what happened to this set. It's not egregiously overpriced like some of the other sets on this list, but it's pretty bad, and honestly, unless you're a super fan of Spider-Man and wanting to collect every single Marvel figure character, I would probably suggest waiting for a sale, especially around the end of the year. I bet Target and Walmart are going to have this on deep discount, as well as many of the other superhero sets that they typically do. So if you're really just wanting this but aren't really willing to spend $70 on it right now, I would heavily recommend holding off, just maybe buying something else for the price better, and then maybe waiting until this goes on sale, because honestly, for what you get, I'm not too impressed.
The other set we're getting is one that does not actually include any new minifigures, so it may be an easy pass for most. It's also a LEGO 4+ / Junior set, so that makes it an even easier pass. However, what is new in these is a brand new mold for a Power Blast kind of stand piece. You can see underneath the minifigures here, they're standing on these transparent platforms, supposedly representing maybe some power emanating from their boots or something like that. Kind of an odd piece. I feel like it's maybe the equivalent to the Iron Man flying jets, except one that can actually allow him to stand on the ground. It's an interesting piece for sure. I am almost certain that it will appear in other sets, so if you're wanting to get this set just for that, I'd probably say you don't really need to. Then again, it does include the Iron Man and Thanos minifigures. The Iron Man minifigure we've seen a dozen times now. Well, not quite, but we've seen at least 3 or 4 of him, from the Avengers Tower to the Iron Man mech to the Helicarrier. All sorts of sets have this one Iron Man. The Thanos minifigure, however, only came in one set, which was the Thanos mech. So if you missed that one, maybe it's a good time to pick up this set just to get that minifigure. It's a pretty good deal, 2 minifigures with some substantial builds despite being a 4+ Junior set, so it's really up to you. I probably will be getting this. I'm not sure on day one, but maybe at some point down the line, especially because it doesn't have any new minifigures for me to immediately want to display on my wall.
So taking a look at the set itself, obviously there's really not much more I can say about it other than what I already have. This is set number 76170, simply titled Iron Man vs. Thanos, coming with 103 pieces for $20. That being said, again, it is a 4+ Junior set, so one of those pieces is the massive spaceship large bulk piece there that's essentially just used so young builders don't have to build up the bulk of a spaceship body. We get some nice prints here because, again, everything in 4+ Junior sets are printed, including an arc reactor type thing that maybe could work well for Hulkbuster mocks, as well as these special Thanos printed Nexo tile pieces, which are actually returning from the Thanos mech. Unfortunately, sometimes these 4+ sets actually do give us new minifigures or exclusive minifigures, such as the Mysterio figure last year and whatnot. However, this time we're just getting repeats of characters, so really nothing too exciting here, and probably we can just move on.
Moving on to the next theme, some of the most exciting releases for this year, for me personally, are the new Monkey Kid sets. I know that these don't get too much attention for whatever reason. I know that LEGO bungled a lot of the promotional material for this theme. There were rumors it was originally only supposed to release in China until the whole exclusive region lock sets debacle back when the first Chinese New Year sets were coming out, and then they barely ever promote it. It doesn't show up in the LEGO catalogs, and you can only buy it from LEGO stores and shop at home, not any other US retailer. Kind of a strange move to me for a new Big Bang theme, but maybe they were just really hoping that it would succeed greatly in China and then just kind of threw it out in all the other countries to just see how well it does. Regardless, these sets are among the best produced sets that I've ever seen, really in any LEGO theme. far beyond any other original theme that LEGO's done in a long time. These are almost movie quality sets, and what I mean by this is that it's like the Lego Movie 2, Batman movie, and the Ninjago movie. The quality of builds and the amount of new prints and molds is just absolutely insane here. Every single set is really well done for the most part. The big problem, of course, as everyone always complains about, is the price. Obviously, when Monkey Kid launched, the cheapest set was like $35, and it was just a motorcycle build. So there's no denying that these sets are overpriced. I think that's pretty objectively. These are pretty overpriced sets, although they are really, really great for what you do get. And actually, looking at this newest wave, this is the first time that I've actually looked at a price on a Monkey Kid set, and I've gone like, yeah, you know what, Lego? I mean, you got me. That seems pretty fair to me. I did not say that for any of the prices of any of the previous sets in the wave. Usually I had the reaction of, well, that's overpriced. I'm getting it because it looks good, but it's really not worth that much. But for these sets in particular, there's one set, maybe two sets, where I looked at the price and I was like, yeah, you know what, Lego, that's pretty fair. So let's just dive in and take a look at all of the new Monkey Kid releases right now.
After a very small and slightly disappointing summer wave where really only one set was really spectacular and the other two were just generally overpriced and more of the same, Monkey Kid is returning in a big fashion with this year's full-on Season 2 wave for March 1, 2021, and I am a lot happier with these builds than I was with the previous wave. Let's start off with the now cheapest and smallest Monkey Kid set if we don't count the polybags, which is this one right here, set number 80018, Monkey Kid's Cloud Bike. Now I will say, obviously, this is the standard dual bike chase that we always get from themes like this, like Ninjago, Nexo Knights, Chima. They all have their own dual bike stuff. This one is retailing for $25. Typically for Ninjago, I will say, this set would probably be around $20, but you know, I've seen Ninjago do this for $25, and it is good to get a relatively cheaper Monkey Kid set. That being said, the builds are kind of unremarkable. They use that standard flying bike feature that's been kind of overused at this point. They use it a ton in these superhero sets where the wheels flip up to allow the bike to hover, a feature that we've seen 1,000 times before. What is a little bit unique about this one bike that I do like is that obviously this is just a standard bike. There's not too many different things that you can do with it. However, I do like the technique. It's a very simple technique, but it's the one that's used on the front headlight here, which is used to invert the clip piece to continue this vehicle hood piece curve around the curvature of the light. It's just kind of a unique touch that makes it a little bit more advanced, a little bit more special, hinting at the, as I said, Lego Movie quality builds that we see here. Just some really high quality stuff. In terms of the minifigures included in this set, we get a new version of Monkey Kid himself, and expect to see this guy cropping up in a lot of the sets. He's in almost every single set of this wave in this configuration, but it is a new version. It's a newer one from the one that was first introduced last year. Instead of the headphone piece, he's wearing a teal hood, which is definitely nice for minifigure customizers. And we also get another minifigure in the set. It's one of the Spider Minions. Now, the villain figure is actually a lot more interesting. It is exclusive to the set. It appears to be a named character. He even has a hairpiece included alongside his helmet, which is a very nice addition. I always like it when LEGO does stuff like this. But yeah, we're getting a brand new print for the standard Iron Man helmet mold. We're also getting a new torso, legs. Everything is completely new about this figure, so it's actually really nice to get a unique villain in one of these smaller sets. Also debuting in this set and many of the other Monkey Kid sets are these little spider creatures featuring a brand new mold for a clip piece. Definitely very excited to see that being used in MOCs. That looks like a very versatile piece, being able to attach a clip and bar at a 90-degree angle, so I'm definitely excited to get my hands on this. However, we can probably move on because arguably this is the least exciting of the new Monkey Kid sets, being the smallest. The next one up here is set number 80019, Red Sun's Inferno Jet, retailing for a surprising $35, which I will say is not too bad for what you get. It's definitely beefier than the previous $35 set, which was May's Dragon Bike, and it does have a lot of unique shaping around the engine area of this jet, making it a relatively unique piece. I also do love that the signature build for the Bulls appears to be using the metal beard in the front cowl there as a headlight. They use that technique again in Red Sun's Inferno truck, so it's kind of cool to see it crop up here. That being said, this does feel like a strange addition in this wave. First of all, this almost feels like it was something that was supposed to be in Season 1 or depicting the previous events of the show. As you can see here, the Monkey Kid figure is not the new one for 2021. Strangely, it is the old version of Monkey Kid. And I guess this isn't really a spoiler because it's literally on the poster. The main poster for Season 2 shows Red Sun alongside the heroes as part of their team. Doesn't really make too much sense to me for them to be fighting here unless maybe the first half of the season continues their fight, or maybe just the first few episodes and then the rest of the season is spent dealing with the Spider Queen and them having to team up. This set does, again, coming back to the focus, feel a little bit oddly placed in this wave, and there are a few aspects of the build that do appear a little bit awkward, particularly the exposed Technic beam on the back. The way that the handle is shaped, that is very clearly a handle, feels a little bit awkward to me, and it does look like it's something that's pretty hollow around the rest of it. It's just kind of a Technic beam with some circles around it. So it's not one of my favorite Monkey Kid sets, but it's not one of the worst ones either. It kind of just falls in between, and this is one of the ones where I feel like the price isn't actually too bad compared to a lot of the other sets. But then moving on to something a lot more interesting, we have set number 80020, White Dragon Horse Jet. So this is actually one that surprised me by quite a lot when the set names for these new sets were first revealed. I was seeing it and I was thinking, oh man, another jet? Come on, LEGO, can't you do something a little bit more unique than just another jet in a LEGO theme? That being said, when pictures came out, I was actually pleasantly surprised that this is actually a very, very solid and advanced build. I really love the layering of the Nexo tiles in the corners of the wings there. They actually have a really neat gradient of the teal to the spring green to the lime green going. It works out really, really well despite having a ton of different colors and makes it feel like an actually evolution of colors or some scales being built into the jet. The front of it, or the horse head, is very clearly looking like a horse, which is really nice. Doesn't stray too far into, say, the Chima territory, where it feels kind of strange to be almost looking too close to an actual animal, but I'd say this one toes the line pretty well. We also get a lot of neat recolors here in a transparent fluorescent green or transparent light green. I'm not quite sure of the exact color, but that windscreen is new, as well as the Ninjago Prime Empire large blade piece, which was first introduced last year, being recolored in this lighter shade of transparent green. Arguably, though, one of the coolest things about the set has nothing to do with the jet itself. It's the side build, which is a working LEGO vending machine. Not only does this use a very cool building technique returning from Ninjago City by using those 1x1 tiles placed as decorations inside a large rectangular prism, but it also includes a working payment feature where the minifigure can, as it is in China and other parts of Asia, use his phone to pay for this vending machine here. Once he inserts it into the slot, then a canister of drinks or some beverage will come out, which is a really unique feature, one that actually was first seen in LEGO in a Power Miner set. They've done this a few times in the past, but this one seems like it could work really, really well, and I'm definitely very excited to get this in my hands and see how it's built. This includes the Season 2 version of May, featuring a brand new outfit, unfortunately not exclusive to this set. It also comes in one of the larger sets, as well as the villain, who is a brand new villain for this year, but again, also is included in one of the larger sets. The civilian in this set is technically new, but it's reusing pieces from Hidden Side. It's actually the Tooth Domino's designer torso. It's kind of the sig fig of the designer, the torso that's been placed in here. So honestly, there are no unique figure parts to the set, which is a little bit unfortunate, although for people who did not buy the previous large sets that included the Sandy cat with a mohawk, it is a nice way to get that for a much nicer build. The unfortunate thing about this one, though, as many of the Monkey Kid sets go, is the price. This is $50, and honestly, it's not awful. I mean, I've seen a lot worse. A lot of the other Monkey Kid sets are far worse than this, but it's not great either. I could see Ninjago doing something like this for maybe $40, As much as I like the vending machine, they probably could have just removed it and sold just the jet for 40, maybe 45. I don't really know why they keep on putting in these extra side things just to seemingly take up the parts budget. 50 seems like kind of a stretch to me personally. I would have liked to see it a lot cheaper. But, you know, there it is with Monkey Kid. Can't really do much about that, especially because it seems like these are priced specifically to tailor to the Chinese market and to be able to translate into US dollars from the Chinese currency. So it does kind of make sense. What is kind of nice, though, for large action figure or construction figure fans like myself, is that we are finally getting a recolor of the Star Wars CCBS Construction Armor piece, this time in orange. So pretty nice to see that. I can definitely see people getting it for MOCs. But speaking of overpriced, the next set we have here is set number 80021, Monkey Kid's Lion Guardian. Now, I'll preface this by saying this appears to be almost like the poster set of the wave. Despite not being the largest, it's featured prominently on the Season 2 poster and seems to have a major role in the TV show. It's a shame, however, that it's so expensive. $80 for this build that's essentially a slightly bigger version of the Ultra Unikitty build, or maybe even Zane's Mino creature from just last year. 80 is pretty ridiculous for this set. I don't really know what the designers were thinking when it was priced at this point. If you actually compare it to the 2020 Zane's Mino creature set, which is very strikingly similar, down to the fact that you can't really articulate the front legs too much because it has a jaw-biting action feature. Zane's Mino creature also had fixed articulation because of a attacking action feature. This is approximately the same size of build. I would even argue that Zane's creature is arguably more formidable and larger than this. Also came with a side build that retailed for $50. $50, a perfect price for a set like this, and that came with 616 pieces. This set, on the other hand, comes with 774, so sure, a little bit more, but it's $80, which is $30 more than the previous set that's about the same size. Again, I don't really know why it's this expensive. This is easily the most overpriced set of the wave. While there are some things that I do like about this, I think the head is really well done. The rest of it kind of feels almost unfinished. The legs are very under-detailed and sparse. I'm not a big fan of the way the torso is built just to accommodate the large feature. And I guess these cannon things on the side, or they're supposed to be cannons, I guess, feel a little bit awkward and out of place. All in all, this is kind of a strange set. It's one of the worst ones for the 2021 wave just because of how overpriced it is. While it is nice to see the anti-gravity arcade, which did feature in the show, finally being seen in the sets, and we do get some unique civilians with unique prints. You can see a civilian dancing there. Nothing else about this is really that unique. If you look at the minifigures, the Spider Queen also appears in several other sets, as well as the one henchman from a lot of the other sets as well. The casual May figure is unchanged from her casual appearance last year, and really the only new figure in the set is the civilian, which only just has seemingly a new head and torso print. But then we can move on from this set, which is unfortunately a little disappointing to me, and then we can look at something that's on the completely other end of the spectrum, something that I am incredibly excited to get. It looks really cool. I'm really excited about the set. Number 80022, Spider Queen's Arachnoid Base, with 1,170 pieces, retailing for $120. This does have the same price per piece as the previous set, so you could argue that it's, again, also overpriced. But I'm going to give this one a little bit of slack just because of how formidable it is and how large of a build it is when it finishes. Obviously, a lot of that budget went into these large purple dish pieces as well, and I'm sure some of those larger pieces on the legs are also very expensive to produce and not too easy to make. What I really love about this set, though, is that it reminds me of some of the great LEGO Exoforce sets. It really does feel like a callback to the massive, large walker mechs there. Unfortunately, there is no walking feature. Previous Spider sets like this, like the Galaxy Squad one, for example, had a feature when you roll it along the ground, the legs actually crawl in a spider-like crawling motion. This set does not have that, but I can kind of excuse it just because of how large it is and because of how many legs are included. It has the full 8 legs of a spider. This is easily one of the coolest looking and best spider bases that LEGO has done. They've actually done a surprisingly high amount of these, tracing back to the Arachnoid Star Base from LEGO Insectoids. But this one does also, you can see, have quite a few minifigures. It includes the Spider Queen, so a repeat minifigure, one of the henchmen, which is also a repeat. Pigsy does actually come with a brand new torso, which is very nice to get. It's actually very detailed if you zoom in up close, and this is the only set he appears in so far, so he is exclusive to this one set. And it does even include the Monkey King minifigure. Despite some repeat minifigures and only one exclusive, this is, again, one of the most interesting sets to me. What is not to like about a giant spider? Well, actually, there's a lot of things not to like about a giant spider. But what's there not to like about a giant spider LEGO build? This is really cool, and it even has an action feature built into the front legs where you can activate them from the back to cause them to kind of swing up and down. So it does have that swinging feature, and you can actually articulate some of the legs based on click hinges, so it's not like it's completely immobile like some of the Exoforce sets of its time. We also have a kind of unique jet for Monkey Kid, which seemingly is just the large brick-built staff from his mech shortened into jet form, which is a very unique concept. And all in all, it's just a really fantastic, formidable set, and definitely one that I will be buying on day one. But moving on from this, we have a set that was actually revealed quite a few months ago because it was part of their promotional release featuring some Chinese-themed LEGO sets, or Chinese New Year-themed LEGO sets in particular. This is set number 80023, Monkey Kid's Team Drone Copter for $150. Despite being bigger than the Spider Mech or Arachnoid base, honestly, I'm a little bit less excited about this set than I am with that one. Sure, it is a very large and cool looking build, although it does feel a little bit basic around the center in particular. The exposed Technic is definitely a big turnoff to me, just the beams kind of sticking out there. Again, we have a very large and obvious handle near the back. Now that being said, it does appear that this does have some sort of a splitting or transformation feature. I have yet to see a lot of images of this one built actually physically, but it does appear that it can actually pick up some of the cargo containers. There's a picture on the back of the box here which shows the two teal containers being attached on the sides, so I'm guessing that you can do something like that on this set. And yeah, you can see on the front of the box as well, the containers are being held, so I guess that's why there's a lot of exposed Technic. Still, though, it does appear to be kind of an awkward-looking concept. Not really sure what the direction was behind this one. It's just basically a large drone. It does feel like the build will be very repetitive as well, with very simple builds for the propellers. So I'm not too impressed by this one personally, although there are a lot of really fantastic details packed into these cargo boxes, and it kind of reminds me of the cargo boxes from the Monkey Kid ship, which was one of the first sets of the wave. In terms of exclusive figures, we are finally getting in minifigure form one of Monkey Kid's associates and friends. His name is slipping me right now, but you can see this figure right here. They actually did him really well. He has dual molded legs and printing on the sides and whatnot, so a really well done figure for what's essentially a civilian-like character. But as you look at the other minifigures, unfortunately, really nothing else is new except for what appears to be a new torso print for the Red Sun. So again, not many exclusive prints here, but it is still nice to see them. And honestly, outside of a few neat references to the show, like the arcade cabinet inside May's cabin here, and the interior looking very close to her mansion that was shown off in one of the early episodes of the show, nothing too much else to see here, and we can probably move on to the final Monkey Kid set that's gotten a lot of fans, including me, very excited. This set number is 80024. It is the legendary Flower Fruit Mountain, retailing for a whopping $170, the same price as the previous cargo ship. This is a very different set, though, from that cargo ship, and is one of the most beautiful land-based pieces that they've done for really any original theme, or really any theme that I can think of. I really honestly can't think of the last time that an original LEGO theme got this much of an attention to detail to a location build that wasn't like a D2C or something like a Ninjago City or something like that. This is basically, for all intents and purposes, a standard retail set or something that's just regularly sold at LEGO stores, and it is fantastic. You can see that from the front, there's a lot of detail. It's clearly showing that the mountain is well hidden in the clouds. I just love the amount of detailing shown here, and what's really cool is that unlike a lot of LEGO sets, this is actually something that's pretty rare about it. It shows the many stages of Monkey King's life. You can see that on one side of the set, he is being born for the first time emerging from a rock, and then you've got him in a different outfit as an apprentice, and then slowly becoming the king until his final modern appearance as the Monkey King. For people who are familiar with the Sun Wukong story, this is a fantastically detailed set full of references to that storyline, and even comes with Makak, the dark monkey that was fought in Season 1, so it is nice to get a minifigure of that. Monkey Kid himself, I will say, does feel a little bit out of place in the set, which does appear to be very focused on the ancient legends, even including some other monkeys who are his followers, but it's still a very nice set. The only downside is, as you can probably tell from this picture, it doesn't look great from the back, and it looks a lot worse than great. It really does not look good at all from the back. Again, you've got some really awkward exposed Technic beams. Everything just kind of feels unfinished and open. Even the rock that he's born from isn't even covered in the back, so you can just clearly see him poking out of the back there. The only interesting thing really about the backside here is a spinning dual platform where they actually have some unique stuff going on with some black bricks detailing Makak's entrance and allowing him to fight the Monkey Kid, showing a battle between good and evil on these spinning platforms here. Other than that, and accessing some of the details on the inside of the build, the back of the build is really nothing to write home about, so that is a little bit disappointing. This is basically just a facade, although it is a really well done facade, and one of the largest that they've ever done. So it is a fantastic set, at least from the front, and definitely something that, again, I will be picking up on day one. Now, before we wrap up with Monkey Kid, there's just one more special set that was recently revealed. It is set number 40472, Monkey Kid's RC Race, retailing for $13. It's one of these standard minifigure packs, including an exclusive torso. So it's Monkey Kid, and the Bob Bull is wearing an exclusive torso. Kind of nice to see that, as well as the Civilian May figure, which has originally only appeared in the larger, most expensive sets, so it is nice to see her appearing in a much, much smaller set. I guess technically this minifigure pack is the smallest Monkey Kid set, although it's not really a standard set. It features micro builds of the Red Sun's Inferno truck and the Monkey Kid Cloud Roadster, which are both sets that debuted last year. Honestly, nothing too interesting here. To be completely honest, I kind of wish that this minifigure slot went to Ninjago. Typically, Ninjago is able to do a lot more unique stuff with the $13 minifig packs, simply because there's so many minifigures from previous years of Ninjago that we just haven't gotten. Last year, our $13 Ninjago minifigure pack featured the golden Digiverse Zane. We also got Clutch Powers for the first time in the Season 11 pack. We got the Oni for the first time, and many other Elemental Masters and great exclusive Ninjago characters in the previous packs. But unfortunately this year it looks like Monkey Kid stole its slot. It took the Ninjago minifigure pack slot and instead is giving us one of theirs. And honestly, there's nothing too exciting, at least to me, about this one torso. It feels remarkably uninteresting, to be honest. I think it can be summed up by saying that if I didn't realize that this was a Monkey Kid set and I just saw that torso, I probably wouldn't have even known it was specific to Monkey Kid. It just feels like, I don't know, maybe something that LEGO Racers would do. Maybe that emblem on the front kind of gives it away with the mountain, but honestly, it's really not too interesting. I honestly also can't even remember when they wore these in the show. Maybe for a few seconds during the race episode. I wasn't really paying too much attention to the outfits because obviously the style of the show is so abstract, it's kind of hard to translate their outfits to minifigure format, so maybe he did wear these, I just didn't realize, but nothing too interesting here. Obviously, I will be buying the set because I'm a minifig completionist. I want to get all the exclusive minifigures from themes that I collect. And the micro builds are charming, it's just that it's nothing too crazy compared to other things that we could have gotten, especially for Ninjago. But with that, we have summed up all of the new Monkey Kid sets. This actually took a lot longer than I thought it would, but coming out for March 1st, so a pretty sizable wave, and I'm definitely going to get all of these on day one. I'm a big supporter of original LEGO themes. This is no different, and this has some of the best builds seen in a LEGO theme. I know I railed a lot on the Lion Guardian, but even that one is done really well in terms of the head and even the side builds, so definitely very excited to get all of these sets, and now we can move on to the next theme.
Next up, we recently got a new sub-theme of Brickheads, Brickheads Pets, and this is continuing with 2 new sets in March 1st, a fish set and a bird set. Let's take a look at what they look like right now.
LEGO's handling of the Brickheads theme has always been a little bit strange to me. They significantly oversaturated the market with almost 100 Brickheads in 1 year a couple of years back, and ever since then it seems like they learned their lesson. They severely dialed these back, and now we very rarely get to see licensed ones, and most of the time Brickheads is just around for the seasonal stuff. This year it seems like they're trying something new, and going for Brickheads Pets, which I'm curious to see how well these do. Sure, they're pretty cute and all, but I don't know if people will necessarily seek these out unless they will actually have a pet of the animal in question. That being said, these are remarkably nice builds. Nothing too special here, although I do love the unique stands, especially for the set number 40443 birds. You can see that the birds are perched on these little wooden stands that makes it look really nice. However, outside of those, nothing particularly stands out to me. A lot of times Brickheads are known for very unique prints that they have for the licensed stuff. Obviously, since these aren't licensed, they don't actually have prints. So they're pretty standard bricks. I'm sure there are some recolors scattered here and there with maybe the bird's color of yellow, or that bill in orange is pretty nice, but other than that, nothing too crazy going on. And the same can be said for set number 40442, which is the Fish Pets Brickheads. They do have a nice stand featuring some different colors of coral and an underwater look and feel, but again, it's just 2 very similarly colored goldfish, just one bigger one and one smaller one, so there isn't too much to say here, and honestly, we can probably move on. In terms of my recommendation, I would say, I mean, if you're a collector of Brickheads and just like the way that Brickheads look, I do like the way that Brickheads look, so I'm just going to get them. However, I don't think that they have anything particularly remarkable for people who are not already fans of Brickheads, and I'm curious to see how well these ones do, especially if the licensed ones didn't sell too well. But now we can move on to the next theme.
LEGO Friends actually has a few new releases for March 2021. Normally I don't pay too much attention to Friends, although there have been some highlights. I loved the Italian restaurant set, fits right in with LEGO City. And I also love the new water park because of the brand new water tube pieces, which I can see being very useful in MOCs. What is also very interesting to me is that the most interesting set for Friends is a brand new Heart Lake shopping mall, which actually debuts the first working LEGO escalator ever made. The escalator piece actually appeared as detailing in that Ninjago City Garden set all the way back in January 1st. What's even more interesting is that the copyright on these escalator pieces is dated all the way back to 2019, which means that they plan to include it in a 2020 set, but for whatever reason, it was pushed to 2021. No idea why that might be the case, but hey, I'm not complaining. Really cool element to get, and let's take a look closer up at all of the new Friends releases.
So starting off here with the first few new LEGO Friends sets, we actually are getting a continuation of the LEGO Friends Mystery Animal Pods. Now these ones actually come with a blind bag mystery animal in a unique color. You don't know what color you're going to get when you get the set, only what animal it will be. Personally, this seems like a strange gimmick to get people to buy more of essentially the same set, especially since it is $10. One kind of expert's tip here is that if you actually wanted to get an individual animal from the mystery LEGO Friends line, well, every single one is on Bricks and Pieces, which is LEGO's official service of selling every single, or pretty much every single LEGO part that is released in their sets. So if you don't want to have to go through the trouble of, say, buying 20 times of the bunny cube to get all different kinds of bunnies, you can just pay a couple of bucks on Bricks and Pieces to get every single different color that you want. For me personally, as a LEGO animal collector, that's exactly what I've done. I don't own a single LEGO Friends Mystery Cube, but I own every single unique type of animal and unique color because I simply got it off of Bricks and Pieces. Especially when they're a little bit more interesting, like one of the waves when they did metallic colors of the animals. But you can see them right here. We are getting 5 new sets, all priced at $10. They're basically equivalent to Ninjago gimmick sets. We get Andrea's Bunny Cube, Emma's Dalmatian Cube, Mia's Pug Cube, Olivia's Flamingo Cube, and Stephanie's Cat Cube. All different sorts of animals. You can see the building techniques are a little bit interesting. Some of them have a mix of some fabric or pre-cut pieces for the bunny ears and I guess flamingo head, and others are just built out of standard bricks to represent ears. Again, though, nothing too crazy going on, especially for the more serious adult collectors of LEGO. Not sure how much value exactly you'll be getting out of this, other than just getting unique animals. A few things, though, that I do want to point out. We are getting the Skeleton Bone, which debuted in Ninjago sets in 2011, in teal for what I think is the first time in Mia's Pug Cube to represent a doggy chew toy. That's kind of interesting, and I'll definitely be getting that off of Bricks and Pieces. We're also getting a repeat of a transparent blue balloon animal, which debuted in one of the collectible minifigure clowns and has appeared in a few city sets here and there. And we're getting a kind of neat head print for a regular minifigure head to represent what looks like a watermelon. So that's kind of a cool print. Definitely can be used with standard minifigures as well. It's not a mini doll specific thing in the Flamingo Cube. So there are some pretty charming and nice recolors of stuff in here, some unique pieces here and there, but honestly nothing too crazy, and nothing you won't be able to get off of LEGO Bricks and Pieces. With that, though, we can probably move on to the other LEGO Friends sets releasing on March 1st. Going from least expensive to most expensive, we have a smaller set. This is the Vet Clinic Rescue Buggy for $10. Honestly, nothing too fantastic with the build. We've seen the same buggy 1,000 times before, but what is kind of cute about this is the very adorable small baby Dalmatian, which I may just buy the set to just get that animal, if it's not available on Bricks and Pieces. We also get the standard LEGO coffee cup in transparent pink, which is almost like a callback to some of the older 2000s era LEGO sets, which did include stuff like that in transparent colors. Moving on, we have set number 41440, Heart Lake City Bakery, which is a 4+ set, nothing too crazy going on here, outside of the new LEGO Friends cake piece, which works perfectly well as a cake for standard minifigures, and one that I actually would recommend you getting off of Bricks and Pieces if you're at all interested in strange new LEGO parts. We also have a new print of the Mario sign depicting a cake, which could potentially be useful for LEGO city builders looking to build a bakery in their own cities. Besides all this, though, there isn't really anything majorly interesting going on here, so we can move on to the next set, which is the Vet Clinic Ambulance for $30. It is set number 41445. This, to me, honestly, may be the least interesting set out of the newest wave for me. Nothing too much that appeals to me here, and the ambulance is kind of an awkward and chunky build. What is kind of neat, though, is that we are getting yet another plain, unprinted 3x3 tile, which was made to represent the LEGO Minion eyes, but has been cropping up in a lot of different sets at a much more high frequency. We're also getting some unique animals in this set as well, from different types of cats to a small bunny, but the bunny honestly is something we've seen a lot of times before, and I don't think the cats are anything too special either. The next set here is for $40, set number 41446, the Heart Lake City Vet Clinic. This one is kind of interesting to me because it has 5 different, completely different animals included in this set, from a turtle to a kitten, to a small puppy, to a full-size dog, to even a full-size horse. A very eclectic range of animals, but something that's very interesting to see in a set, which you don't often see this kind of variety in a single LEGO set. The adorable expression on the wounded dog's face as the mascot of the Heart Lake City Vet Clinic is way cuter than I thought it would be, but other than that, this is a very simple build, and not one that's too interesting to me, despite the relatively unique subject matter. Not very many LEGO sets are focused on a vet clinic, after all. However, easily the most interesting set to me, and to probably a lot of AFOLs as well, is set number 41450. Retailing for $100, it is the Heart Lake City Shopping Mall. Coming with 1,032 pieces. Obviously, the big draw to the set for me is the working LEGO escalator. I am quite excited to see that in motion. I'll probably be getting this set just for that. But it's actually a pretty charming build otherwise. I really like the way that these shops are organized. They all have a similar theming on the stickers for these 3x3 round tiles, but they're all representing different things. We've got a jewelry or makeup store, a toy store, a candy store. what looks to be some sort of a science store and a music store. So all sorts of pretty unique things going on, stuff that you could see in a mall, like a candy shop and a toy shop in particular. I definitely see those while going around a mall, so it is pretty nice to see this. LEGO doesn't actually do shopping malls really that often or at all, so I do actually like the build here. Although it's a pretty simple one, kind of like a facade, there are a lot of details in each of the shops, and they even have a food court up at the top with delineation between the food and the drinks. So it's a very nice build, and one that really does feel like a legitimate shopping mall, maybe without all the pink pastel colors. Maybe that's not really that realistic, but in terms of the content that's featured here, it is a really nice build. What's also very cute about this is that it includes different stages of mini dolls in life. We have a baby mini doll, which is using the collectible minifigure tribal wrap baby. We've got a small figure, which I guess is supposed to depict a child mini doll. And then we have these standard ones from, I guess, a mother and a father here with their 2 children, and we've got 2 of the friends themselves. So it is a pretty nice area and even has some extra opportunities for a photo booth and whatnot. All in all, a very fleshed out set. I probably am a little bit more partial to the water park just because that one had a lot more fun things to do in my opinion, but this one is a close second, and I don't collect Friends too much, but this one was enough to stand out to me personally. While I might not buy it on day one, I'll probably get it eventually. Next up, while I don't collect too many creator sets, I only collect the ones that particularly appeal to me, like the pirate ship or probably the upcoming castle coming out later this summer. There are actually a few new creator sets that are coming out today on March 1st, which may be of some interest to people. Let's take a look right now. There are only 2 new creator sets being released for March 2021, both of which retail for $30. The first one is set number 31115, Space Mining Mech. This one is a bit of a neat build. We don't get too many mechs for LEGO Creator, and although this one unfortunately cannot bend its knees, it does have some interesting techniques and some interesting pieces. Specifically, the dome piece in plain white could be very useful for people trying to build sci-fi canopies and whatnot, and of course we get a copy of that one piece in clear as well. The technique used for the knees, while again unbendable, is actually a pretty nice one, and blends them together very well and actually makes it look like there are knees included in the set. While this mech may not offer anything too crazy for people who, say, collect Ninjago mechs or any of the superheroes mechs, which have a lot more articulation and a lot more interesting details, it's a good starter mech for slightly younger kids, and it's definitely a good basic build to get started with. However, I will have to say it is kind of unfortunate that this does not include a minifigure and instead appears to be an autonomous vehicle. I really did like the trend of creator space-related sets featuring callback LEGO Classic Space minifigures. Last year, we got a revamp of a Classic Space logo torso with a new astronaut in the Space Rover. This year, we got the Spirius droid in the Cyber Drone. But unfortunately, this set does not include any minifigures whatsoever. It would have been a nice opportunity to get another maybe Spirius figure or some completely other callback figure to an older LEGO Space line, and sadly this set just does not have that. That being said though, when we look at the alternate builds and the other choices that you can do things with this set, it does have some interesting options, like this long-legged tripod mech, which arguably is a lot more interesting silhouette-wise than the actual build itself, to this walker that walks on 4 legs. It seems to be more of like a spaceship or rocket booster, which also has an interesting aesthetic, but seems a lot more unfinished than the other sets. All in all though, because this one does not have a unique minifigure, I don't necessarily know if I'll pick this one up personally. There are a lot more interesting $30 sets, and honestly I feel like this, like the previous underwater mech, doesn't have anything too new to offer, especially not in the minifigure category. However, the next set, set number 31116, Safari Wildlife Treehouse, is a little bit more interesting in terms of offering a build that we don't typically see in LEGO sets. Of course, this is a safari-themed build where we have a brick-built giraffe and some sort of a treehouse, which is meant to fit within the safari itself, and you can go out and feed the giraffes. Personally, I may get the set because I just have good memories of traveling to Kenya and feeding giraffes from a building that looks very much like this one. Obviously, not everyone has that sort of nostalgia connection, so I can see why this doesn't appeal to everyone. However, the one thing that I will note is that the alternate builds are maybe even better and more interesting than the actual set itself. It's not often that you see a treehouse, which is a land-based building, rebuilt into two completely different vehicles. One is a biplane, which is very reminiscent of the classic LEGO Adventurers biplanes, which really does remind me of those. It is a very charming biplane. It's a very simple build, but a nice one. And the other one is a catamaran. For some reason, this year seems to be the year of LEGO catamarans, with a heavy focus on them in Ninjago, and now we have another one for Creator that basically looks like a basic version of the ones that you can get in the Ninjago sets. I really like it when LEGO Creator does things in their 3-in-1 builds that are radically different than the main build model that you actually get, and this is the perfect example of LEGO designers using their creativity to come up with something completely different for the alternate builds. So all in all, I think I'd recommend the Safari Wildlife Treehouse a little bit more than the Space Mining Mech. It also includes 2 minifigures if you're into that as well, but obviously it depends on your personal preference. While I probably won't be getting either of these on day one because there quite frankly are much more interesting stuff to get for the $30 price range, I do appreciate it when LEGO Creator does very unique things for a small price like this.
Next theme up is LEGO Technic. They're actually releasing just 2 kind of smaller size sets. Nothing major like any of these really big cars that I do collect. I am a big fan of these larger Technic cars. These are kind of on the smaller side. Honestly, nothing too interesting to me personally. I may pick up 1 or 2 of them at a later date. Not a high priority for me, but I can totally understand Technic fans liking them because honestly, at least for this Digger set, it looks like a major callback to some of the more classic or original LEGO Technic sets, almost like a return to form. Let's take a look at what they look like right now.
Starting off with the first set here, we have set number 42120, the Rescue Hovercraft, retailing for $30 US. This is a pretty simple set. It's aimed at a much lower age range than many other Technic sets, so there are a lot of basic constructions being used for the set, although it is nice to get some unique recolors mostly inside of the build. I don't have too much to say about this because Technic hovercrafts are pretty standard. We get one every few years. What is a little bit unfortunate is that the cowlings around the propellers rotate alongside them, essentially making those cowlings non-functional and useless, although it is nice to have them move as you push the car along, which is a kind of necessary function for every Technic hovercraft. The alternate build is nothing too special for this set in particular. The plane is not too convincing to me around the nose part, so I probably will be passing on this set. I don't really find it too interesting, although it is nice for Technic fans who may not already have a smaller hovercraft build. The next set, however, feels more like a callback to classic Technic sets, set number 42121, the Heavy Duty Excavator, retailing for $40 US. A lot of the bulk of the back of the build is strangely made out of LEGO system bricks, but the vast majority of it, of course, is Technic. The most interesting parts usage here to me personally is the transparent frosted clear panel piece there. It's typically used for like car panels and whatnot, but we're getting it used as a windscreen here. Unfortunately, I'm not sure why they chose this particular manner of making the part transparent, because while it does have kind of a cool effect, you can't even see through it at all, and it's barely even transparent. It's basically translucent and partially opaque. The milky transparency of this particular part makes me wonder if during the creation of this part they realized that they had to use a particular type of plastic in order to make it both transparent and also allow it to be strong enough and rigid enough to let the Technic pins go through the narrow holes. That being said, though, I can definitely see that piece being very useful for other LEGO builders, Technic or not, as a windscreen or some sort of a transparent detail, so it is a pretty nice part to get as a new part in the set, and I'm hoping it'll show up on LEGO Bricks and Pieces. However, besides that one unique piece though, this is kind of a standard excavator build, and we've seen it several times in the past, just not very recently, which is why I call it more like a classic Technic set. But those are the only 2 Technic sets releasing for this month. Honestly, nothing too interesting to me personally. I am a big collector of the larger Technic sets, but I tend to pass by many of these smaller ones, and these 2 look like no exception for me. It'd be a very easy pass to not get these 2 Technic sets because I'm expecting a lot more interesting stuff later on down the line.
Back around this time last year, there was a rumor going around that we were getting a new version of the UCS Imperial Shuttle. While that of course ended up not being true, We are actually getting a new Imperial shuttle today, March 1st. However, it's not UCS, and in fact, it is actually a lot smaller than the previous one that we did get, which was $100 and fully detailed. This one is along the same vein as the new cheaper initiative that LEGO Star Wars is taking, specifically with the X-Wing and TIE Fighter being a little bit more scaled down, trying to make do with a much less piece count while still being about as big as the previous set, but costing far, far less, which is honestly something I can really get behind. Other than that, we are getting another 4+ X-Wing, which is almost identical in build to the original one, which came out a couple of years ago, but just for the New Republic / the sequel trilogy version of the X-Wing instead, so there's a few different things with the engines. Let's take a look at them right now.
To start things off, we have a very charming, tiny Microfighter 2-pack set number 75298 AT-AT versus Tauntaun Microfighters for $20. We have actually gotten an AT-AT Microfighter before, but never a Tauntaun, and this is very reminiscent of some of the other Microfighter 2-pack builds, like the Escape Pod and Dewback that we got a while back. While the AT-AT is nothing new because it's very similar to the old one that we got, the Microfighter Tauntaun is very cute and is a very nice brick-built representation of the animal. I especially like the usage of this newer eyepiece that is a little bit different than the one used for the brick heads to represent the more beady eyes of the Tauntaun, which is really nice to get. We also get a brand new Hoth Luke minifigure, which I suspect is the reason that many people will be buying this set. Kind of strange how this didn't come out on January 1st with the other Microfighters, but it is nice to get it now. The second set is set number 75297, Resistance X-Wing Starfighter for $20. It's a 4+ LEGO set. As I mentioned before, the build is almost identical to the previous 4+ X-Wing, although it is of course in a completely different color scheme. I appreciate the use of the printed slopes. I can imagine those being very useful, and I do actually like the way that the engine cowlings are shaped to represent the newer trilogy version of the X-Wing. What I don't really like though is the cockpit piece. I don't know why they chose such a curved cockpit. I feel like this would have almost necessitated a brand new cockpit to more accurately represent the piece, which is probably why they chose not to do it, but maybe there was a better piece other than that one, which just feels very out of place here. What is nice is that we are getting Poe Dameron in his standard outfit back after several years not being in use. In fact, it's been so long that despite this being a repeat minifigure, LEGO has the part ID listed under a completely new part ID, which means that the previous minifigure went out of production and they brought it back for a new production run. Moving on from this though, the most interesting set is easily set number 75302, the Imperial Shuttle for $70. This is scaled down from the previous one and uses the same kind of design methodology as the X-Wing and TIE Fighter to make things cheaper, but still approximately the same size, which again is an initiative that I really enjoy. However, this build is a little hit or miss. Underneath the cockpit in particular, it's very awkward and blocky. There's a lot more black space than there should be, and despite the main bulk of the body and wings being generally pretty decent and pretty accurate, the front cockpit is very awkward and almost feels a little bit stunted, and I feel like there were too many compromises made to make this into a cheap set. That being said though, it's been several years since we actually got our previous version of this shuttle, and it is still a perfectly serviceable version of the model. It's just something that maybe if you didn't own it before, it's a good set to have, but for people who already owned the $100 one previously and aren't die-hard collectors like me who buy every single Star Wars set, this is probably going to be an easier pass because it is inferior to the previous version. What's also inferior is that strangely, the Darth Vader included in the set does not have the new arm printing that was featured in the previous 2020 LEGO Star Wars sets. The Death Star Throne Room and the Bespin Duel set both featured this Darth Vader but with printed arms, and it's even featured in the new LEGO Star Wars video game, so I have no idea why they chose not to include the printed arm variant in this set. In addition, the other minifigures are nothing new as well. The same Luke is the one we've been using for several years, and we've gotten that pilot 1,000 times before. So this set does not have anything new in the minifigure department, and even includes a downgraded version of Vader, which is very strange to me. All in all, this is not a particularly exciting wave of new sets. We will be getting, of course, some more new LEGO Star Wars sets around the May 4th timeframe, mostly a UCS set and a Probe Droid. And we're also getting a very, very exciting summer wave that completely blows these waves out of the water, which I cannot talk about here because those are leaks. But suffice to say, if you're a fan of the prequel trilogy and the Clone Wars TV show and The Mandalorian, you will not be disappointed this summer. And I'd say to fans just wanting new LEGO Star Wars content but not very happy with what's out on shelves right now, I would save your money for this summer because there's some really exciting stuff coming. There is a new Disney animated movie coming out titled Raya and the Last Dragon, and as usual, we are getting LEGO sets for it under the Disney Princess banner. I'm actually a lot more interested in these sets than I am with many other sets because the builds are quite interesting, and there's a variety of fascinating new molds. What I really dislike about all these sets though are the crazy prices. Let's just take a look at the first one here, which is honestly the best priced out of all of them, and it's still really overpriced. This right here is set number 43184, Raya and the Sisu Dragon, retailing for $30 US. It's not too bad, but it's not great either, and the price is definitely exacerbated by the brand new mold for the dragon head, which looks to be triple molded in fantastical new colors and completely wild molding. It does reuse the LEGO Harry Potter lower creature jaw piece, so that is a reuse, but the head entirely, the upper jaw is completely new, and it is your cheapest retail set way to get the Raya minifigure, which includes a brand new dual molded rice hat and hair combo piece, as well as a very nice looking fantasy sword. What's also very nice about this is that it combines with the largest set. This, in fact, build that you see right here is the front gate to the large palace set, which you'll see later on in the wave. Honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of the dragon's design in the movie, as well as how it translates to LEGO. The entire body is pretty good and feels very organic. It's just that the head feels really cartoonish to me, kind of out of place on such a regal or majestic dragon. It's the head that kind of really throws me off here, and everything else about it is pretty good, from the foil pieces to the different cuts of the banners floating behind it. It looks like a regal, majestic creature, and then you get to the head and the hairpiece just kind of veers into the uncanny valley. Looks really awkward to me for a dragon build. But for $30, I will say this is not too bad. 216 pieces, one of which is a very large new head mold. It's probably easily the best price set out of the entire Raya and the Last Dragon wave. But speaking of the price, it's probably time we took a look at the next set. Number 43185, Boon or Bounds Boat, not quite sure how to pronounce that. This comes with 247 pieces. And you can guess how much this is. $50. This is $50 for this build. I thought, when I was looking at images of this set, I legitimately thought that this was $30. I thought there was no way they could charge more than $30 or $35 for the set, and I even thought that that was a little bit of a stretch for what you get. But $50? Come on, LEGO, get out of here with that price. What are you doing? I get that this includes 3 brand new molds for characters, but honestly, I don't even know why they made these into 3 new molds. The creatures look similar enough that I feel like you could have done them all in one mold, or heck, even just had a lower mold for the body and had a mini head printed on the top, and you probably could have gotten away with the LEGO representation of these characters. Instead, LEGO decided to make 3 brand new molds for these side characters, drastically upping the price of this set, which is otherwise a fantastically built set. I love the way the boat is built. The shrimp or prawn at the top makes expert use of a recolored keyed orange Ninjago armor piece. I love the recolored orange croissant as well, which is expertly used to represent, well, a shrimp, which actually works out really well. We don't often get fantasy-styled boats like this, especially this Asian-styled fantasy rice boat, so it's really nice to see fantasy shrimp boat, so it's really nice to see this kind of a build. It's a very charming boat build, and it even comes with a nice side build for the docks. But $50, 50, for this, seriously, that's almost a 20-cent price per piece ratio Ridiculous for a set of this size. I have no idea what LEGO was thinking when they priced this at $50, and I honestly just can't see this selling well at all for its price. Unfortunate because it's a really nice build too. But speaking of kind of overpriced sets, we got the next setup here. 43181 Raya and the Heart Palace. 610 pieces for $80. This is a worse price per piece ratio than the Monkey Kid set that I complained about earlier, which was $80 for around 690 pieces. This only is 610, although I can kind of even excuse this one a little bit more than the Monkey Kid one because of those massive blimp pieces there, which make up the bulk of the dome of the castle, but obviously aren't worth the same amount as, say, a single 1x1 stud. Obviously, you can kind of guess what's eating up the mold cost in this set. It's this new animal mold featuring one of the animal companions. This one is another kind of charming mold. It appears to be dual molded with very unique printing and piece attachments for actual studs, which is great to see. But again, it was a mold that maybe was not entirely necessary. They may have been able to brick build this creature if they really wanted to, and that definitely upped the price here. That being said, this set is very reminiscent of one of the classic LEGO Adventurers Orient Expedition Scorpion Palace sets. That was one of my favorite sets growing up to play with and explore, and honestly this gives me a lot of the same vibes with this whole oriental type of architecture here being used as a dome in the center, and we've got some pillars along the sides. It's not a style of architecture that we really ever see in LEGO all too often, and it's one that I really enjoy getting. And it's as I mentioned before, I will probably be definitely getting the $30 Dragon set just to get the front archway for this build and essentially make it a complete castle. With this, it stops being a facade and becomes a fully enclosed structure, and it does add a very unique flair to any sort of fantastical LEGO building. It also looks really well together, as you can see on this picture right here. Finally, the last thing that I didn't mention about this theme is that there is a polybag coming out. I don't know if that's releasing today or some future date, but it does include actually 3 of the new molds for the theme, including one of the creatures, the hat-hair combo for Raya, and the new fantasy sword. So honestly, if you just want to try out some of the new molds on a budget, that's probably the cheapest way to get it, because this polybag's guaranteed to be around $5. Alright, so the next theme up is LEGO Dots. You can see right here some of the Dots bracelets. Personally, I have pretty much no interest in the Dots theme. I think it's great that LEGO is trying new initiatives for bringing in new fans. While I did buy every single set of Wave 1, that was mostly out of morbid curiosity and to get as many new 1x1 tiles as I could. But as the waves have gone on, I found them really not worth it for me to just buy every single set, although some of them are quite charming like these here, and this one actually had a few nice new metallic silver recolors. That being said, Dots is continuing for those of you who are interested. Recently, I actually have been tracking the LEGO Dots printed tiles on this kind of plate here. What's really interesting is that they introduced 2 brand new dual molded pieces that are actually modifications to LEGO studs. Zooming in the camera a little bit closer here, you can see that these pieces here are actually 3-dimensional. They're not completely flat and they stick out of these standard LEGO studs. Removing this piece right here, you can see that it is fully dual molded with a solid color and a transparent color, and this one's even more interesting, having a solid color base, but a kind of glossy and shiny sparkly color as a piece that kind of extends outwards outside of the stud. It's a really interesting piece. I'm sure that builders will find really interesting ways to use these pieces in MOCs. But yeah, you can see I've just kind of been trying to stick together all the dots I can onto this one tile right here. Definitely something that if you are to pick up any dot sets, I'd probably recommend getting the ones that actually have these new pieces. At least if you're a hardcore LEGO fan like me and just finds this kind of stuff, modifications to standard LEGO tiles, really interesting. So kind of interesting to see here. Otherwise, nothing too special. Let's just dive in right into the sets and see what we're getting. We're getting a ton new bracelets as usual. First of all, we have 41922, the cool cactus bracelet, featuring a new print for different cacti to be arranged on the bracelet, as well as the piece that's very interesting to me, which is a transparent sparkle green color, which is a new recolor for the 1x1 tile, and definitely one that I want to get. It retails for $6, although I'm honestly probably just going to get that one tile from Bricks and Pieces. Set number 41933, the Music Bracelet. This one comes with a few different new prints for music notes and some glitter or sparkle 1x1 tiles for transparent pink and transparent clear, which honestly are a little less interesting to me than the transparent green one, which just pops just a little bit more in my opinion. We also have the Extra Dots Series 4, set number 41931 for $4. Unfortunately, unlike the Series 3 dots, which featured two brand new molded, dual molded 1x1 tiles, which I just showed off on the video, this one does not have any new dual molded tiles, and instead it opts to include some of the bulkier cheese slopes as well as different tiles for the dog faces to supplement the later set of cubes. This one is far less interesting than Series 3 in my opinion, and honestly I probably will be only picking this up at a later date. But speaking of what these actual animal prints are used for, we have a series of new bag tags releasing today for $7, set numbers 41927, 28, 29, and 30. They are the bag tag dog, narwhal, leopard, and panda respectively. I probably will not be getting any of these, maybe just one just out of curiosity for the pieces. Honestly, the funny thing about them is that they look like the original Lego dice element, except that they're a 3x3 configuration instead of a 2x2, kind of similar to the one for Lego games, except a little bit bigger, although unfortunately you cannot use this as a fair dice because they have an upward sloping part to attach a ring to, so you can't even repurpose it for a larger dice, which would have been really nice to see, honestly. Over here you can see that honestly there's nothing too interesting here. There are some nice recolors and new prints. We've got some prints, especially for the narwhal here. I can expect the 1x1 tile with bubbles to be very useful outside of dots completely, probably being used in just standard mocks as well. But other than that, a lot of these are very set specific, like the leopard print or even the panda print. Maybe the bamboo could come in handy for some sort of a panda sign at a zoo or some bamboo in the distance. But I'd say the most interesting one parts-wise are these bubble pieces here, which can seem to transcend outside of the dots theme. However, these really aren't my personal cup of tea. The most interesting thing is probably this new 1x1 brick separator, which is a key-like kind of object here, which is used specifically to separate 1x1 tiles from the cubes, which is a new inclusion for dots, and I wonder if that will come up in any other sets. Specifically, maybe some of the mosaic sets will start using stuff like this if you don't want to take off a ton of studs at a time. But finally, we have reached the end of the themes that are returning for March 1st, 2021, and it's time to get into the elephant in the room, which is the brand new theme, LEGO Video. This is a collaboration between LEGO and the Universal Music Group, featuring original LEGO-themed characters, but some sort of an app collaboration with Universal. Honestly, I'm not really sure where Universal ties into all of this outside of maybe the marketing campaign, which features a mysterious singer dressed up as a llama promoting the brand, trying to gain a social media following. Don't even ask me what that's all about. I have no idea. This is essentially what's been branded as TikTok for kids. It's essentially encouraging kids to post short videos of them dancing alongside LEGO minifigures. Although in the terms and conditions of the app, it states that kids are not supposed to show their faces on the app, which I feel takes a lot of the fun out of doing it for these kids. But if you download the app, the recommended video on the front page is a kid showing his face and very revealing parts of his house. So honestly, I have no idea what even is going on with this app. I tried it out and honestly, the in-app integration is kinda nothing too special, unlike Hidden Side, which I felt was actually a really cool app integration where you had a completely AR build for the set and you had to have the actual set built to rotate your camera around and find different parts of it. This one literally works off of plain images of the minifigures. I'm not going to go too in-depth on this. If you want to see an in-depth breakdown of LEGO Video, I would very highly suggest that you check out JangBricks' video. He's a very reputable LEGO YouTuber. He did a very in-depth video on this and all of the problems with it. I'm just here to talk about the different sets that you can buy today on March 1st, 2021, so that's exactly what I'm going to do. Video is starting off with a blind box CMF series, where you can no longer feel each individual packaging to know what figure you want. Instead, they're packaged in boxes, where you cannot tell the identity of the figure you're feeling, forcing you to buy much, much more to complete the set. Or do you? See, I was quite upset when they revealed this. I felt like it was kind of a shady tactic to just get people to pay more, especially for people who only want specific figures, or people like myself who collect only one of every single figure, bar a few exceptions, just to get the complete series. At first, I was very annoyed at seemingly having to be tricked into buying multiples or just resorting to Bricklink to get all of the complete set of figures. But then someone posted a cheat or a box distribution hack, which I definitely will be using when I go to the store today. You see, the LEGO video figures are arranged in boxes full of 2 columns, and you can see literally exactly which figures are included in each column of the box. In fact, if you just walk up to a brand new video box and grab one of the columns, you can essentially get an entirely complete series of minifigures, which I most certainly will be doing tomorrow. I'm very happy that LEGO, whether intentionally or not, actually decided to package it like this. They've been doing it for the recent collectible minifigures where you really just needed to get one column of the box in order to get the full series, and it's a big, big relief for people like me who don't want to spend hours in a LEGO store just feeling every single box or bag over and over again. And in this case, you can't even feel them without crushing the box. So it's nice that they're outlined like this, but still, LEGO, come on, did you really have to make them blind boxes? I'm going to share my thoughts on this a lot more in a long-form video, so I'll just leave it at that. These cost the standard collectible minifigure price of $5, although I will say that they're actually a little bit more interesting than the standard collectible minifigure, at least parts-wise, because instead of just including the standard figure and a stand, they include the figure alongside these new printed 2x2 tiles called Beat Bits. The ones in the CMF, thankfully, are not randomized. There is a fixed set of tiles that are specifically supposed to come with each figure, and you will not get different tiles between them. They're actually supposed to come with these specific tiles, so it is nice to get these specific ones per figure. But honestly, I can say that they're a little bit of a hit or miss figure-wise. Some of them are very interesting with really unique new molds, like say the Shark Singer you've got right here, the Ice Cream Man. I do like the ice cream headpiece, and I especially like the recolor of the Lord Garmadon headpiece in purple, which will definitely come in handy when making custom Ninjago minifigures, such as the Oni characters, which heavily used purple as an accent color. However, there are some hit or miss figures here and some kind of uninteresting ones. We've got a standard cheerleader, which almost looks identical to the Ninjago cheerleader, which appeared as a collectible minifigure a while back. We've got a singing rabbit, which I feel is a little bit of a strange print on the face. It just comes off as a little bit uncanny to me. But then we have some good figures, like the werewolf, just reusing the Monster Fighters werewolf piece, which was a great use of the part. And even some stuff like the Ghost, which is a pretty standard figure, but it's nice to get the Ghost Trail piece in a new color or a new set of colors, which can definitely be useful for stuff like Ninjago. All in all, it's kind of a mixed bag CMF-wise. Some hits, some misses. I'm going to be getting the whole series because I get it for every CMF, but I am not a fan of the blind boxes, and I really hope that's a one-off thing for LEGO Video, and LEGO doesn't transition to these for every single collectible minifigure. Moving on from these CMFs though, we have a new type of gimmick set. Now typically these gimmick sets, they include one minifigure, some sort of a box for them, and cost $10. But wait, these don't cost $10. These cost $20. What in the world is going on with the prices for these? I cannot imagine these ever being worth $20. You get one minifigure and one plastic container. That's like literally every single other gimmick set that LEGO puts out. Heck, last year Ninjago put out a gimmick set for $10 that had 2 minifigures, and they did the same thing for this year. So I really don't know what's going on here. I feel like this is some sort of a tax due to the collaboration with Universal Music, which to be honest is not even present throughout the sets to me. What's also very annoying is that they've come up with 100 plus different 2x2 tiles to represent the Beat Bits, which is really nice because getting 100 plus new printed tiles is really cool. But there's a catch because they're randomized throughout the sets. So if you want them all, I mean, can you even really ever get them all without just going to Bricklink? I don't even know, because I doubt these would be available over Bricks and Pieces because they're technically licensed, and I certainly am not going to be buying multiples of $20 sets just to get a chance of getting different 2x2 tiles. So for fans wanting to collect a bunch of the different 2x2 tiles for stuff like records or posters, well, you're kind of out of luck unless you go to the secondary market, because they're going to be completely randomized throughout these sets. And as far as I can tell, there isn't even a comprehensive list of every single unique variant included, so you can't even tell which ones are new. However, the minifigures are actually pretty interesting here. I am especially a fan of the Alien minifigure, which definitely will fit in sci-fi mocks. I love the robot figure as well. The facial expression almost looks like the Zane figure, but just a lot wackier. And I do like the VR goggle headpiece that he has on, which is going to be very useful if they recolor that for maybe a set of standard VR goggles for minifigures. I do also like the new Ice Cream Mermaid. I can imagine that tailpiece, once recolored in something like, say, a Build a Minifigure pack, would be very nice as an update to the standard mermaid tailpiece, which currently is very bulky and kind of awkward to position. This one's a lot more streamlined, and that hairpiece is really fantastic of blowing in the wind. Definitely want to see that one recolored at some point. Even the Punk Pirate, while the color scheme isn't one that I'm the biggest fan of, I feel like the red and the teal don't go too well together, has an awesome accessory in the form of an anchor guitar, which I would say recolored in a gunmetal color could work perfectly as just the anchor of a ship or a detailed figurehead of a ship, which is really nice. Obviously, the llama, who is the main character or main promotional figure for the theme, is a heavy focus here. I think it's alright. I think some of the other ones are a bit more interesting to me. The most interesting thing about the llama is that it appears that his arm printing goes around his entire wrist, which to my knowledge is something new. LEGO did not used to have the technology to print alongside the entire circumference of a figure's wrist, so this one is very, very interesting, and I definitely want to get this in my hands to see just how good that printing is. The unicorn is probably the least interesting to me personally. I just feel like the headpiece goes into that uncanny valley territory a little bit too much, but obviously I'll be getting all these to complete the set. But really, LEGO, $20? That's just ridiculous for something like this.
As always, for a new month, we're getting a brand new set of GWPs. We're actually getting two pretty good gift with purchase sets this month. Obviously, the last ones we got were also very good, like this blue or teal car right here. But we're actually getting a brand new carrot house. It's kind of an Easter themed build, or I guess a spring themed build. It's a whole house shaped like a carrot. Unfortunately, no minifigures, so that's kind of a bit of a shame, but you can see the only picture that we have of it came from this kind of catalog image, so it's really blurry. We don't have official images as of yet, but you can see the picture right here. The other GWP, which is honestly a lot more interesting to me, is the Amelia Earhart tribute set. This is kind of strangely timed. I have no idea why they're making this right now. I'm certainly not complaining though, because that plane build is really, really nice. It's been a while since we've gotten a very decently sized minifigure scaled biplane build from LEGO that actually is heavily detailed like this model. I actually am a big fan of this, and I hope that LEGO does more historical tribute sets, kind of like the recent Charles Dickens tribute that they did just last December. Alright, so now that we've taken a look at every single brand new 2021 LEGO set releasing today, it's time to give my opinions and rankings. Now obviously I'm going to probably buy every single one of these at some point or another, maybe not some of the Friends and some of the Dot sets, but pretty much everything else. So if we're going just by my personal metrics of what I'm going to personally buy, it's probably not going to be that good of a recommendation for people who aren't criminally insane like me and actually have a budget to spend on LEGO. So what we're going to do is I'm going to give my favorite sets of each theme and which ones I feel are priced the best. That way you get an idea of what I would recommend for you to get and try to get sets on a budget as well. Starting off, obviously it's kind of hard to rank because there's literally only one of it. We've got the Creator Expert Porsche. I'd say if you're a car fanatic, go for it, but honestly it doesn't provide too much interesting functions or features other than some unique pieces. So unless you're a new LEGO piece fanatic or very into the car, there's probably better things to spend the money on. Moving on to LEGO Ninjago, I would say probably one of the best sets of the wave is the $50
71747, The Keeper's Village. It's remarkably well priced. It's one of the best price sets on this list. It comes with a unique minifigure in the form of the island version of Cole, and for people who aren't planning on collecting the rest of the sets, it comes with the main villain of the wave, Chief Momedas, who has a fantastic new headpiece, another new headpiece for one of the tribal warriors, and some new versions of the eyelid Jay and Kai. If you're on even more of a budget than $50, even some of these smaller sets like the Jungle Dragon and the Bike are pretty good, but this one is easily the best in terms of what you get and for the price. Moving on from Ninjago, we can take a look at the brick sketches. Honestly, I don't necessarily know if I'd recommend any of these at the $17 price point. Kind of ridiculously overpriced to me. If they ever drop down to $10, I'd say certainly if that's what floats your boat, if you like them better or as good as Brickheads, then go for it. But at this particular price, I'd say it's a big no for those. Moving on to LEGO Minecraft, I would actually highly recommend getting the Warped Forest set. It gives you a brand new mob and a brand new mold for its head, as well as a very unique set of teal parts, which you probably aren't going to be seeing again very soon in any standard smaller LEGO set. The cheaper price tag of $30 definitely bolsters the set quite a lot as well. You get a ton of nice new recolors in teal and purple, what's not to like? Moving on from Minecraft, we'll take a look at the LEGO Superheroes sets. Again, as you may remember from earlier in this video, I cannot recommend the Attack on the Spider Lair for $70. Kind of ridiculous how it has less pieces but is more expensive than the $50 Ninjago set, while it does include 3 new minifigures which may be particularly interesting to superheroes collectors. I can definitely say that you'll see this on sale at some other retailers later on this year, so unless you really wanted to get those newer minifigures today, I would strongly recommend holding off. And also, unless you're really wanting to get a Marvel superhero set, the other set, which is the 4+ Junior set, doesn't have too much to offer either. Moving on from there, we'll take a look at Monkey Kid. I'm gonna have to give 2 different recommendations here, just depending on what types of sets you like. If you're a bigger fan of vehicles and imposing creatures and bases, I would heavily recommend the Spider Queen's Arachnoid base. For $120, it's actually a relatively decent price for what you get. It's a really awesome, intimidating build, and not one that we've seen from LEGO really before at this scale. It also is very reminiscent of the classic LEGO Exoforce theme, so if you're kind of interested in that, you'll probably like this set. However, if vehicles aren't really your thing and you more prefer playsets and building sets, then the $170 legendary Flower Fruit Mountain is definitely the set for you. While it is very expensive, it's a fantastic, beautiful build. We'll probably not get a set like this in a long time. It could be a few years before we get a set as good looking as this. So if you're into locations and whatnot, I would recommend this. Just be prepared to only display it from the front, because from the back, it doesn't look great. But moving on from Monkey Kid, looking at the Brickheads, I would say that if you wanted to have at least one of the Brickheads, I'd probably recommend the birds over the fish, mostly because there isn't too much differences between the fry and the goldfish. They feel like basically the same build, just at different scales, versus the birds that actually give you 2 different styles of birds, with slightly different and new colors of pieces in the brick yellow, as well as a unique new triangular piece which was debuted in the Harry Potter sets but hasn't been seen too frequently. However, these are not the most exciting Brickheads, and I know a few more exciting licensed ones are coming on later this year, so maybe you'll want to save your money for those. Moving on to LEGO Friends, I'd say easily the best set and most interesting set out of the wave is the shopping mall with a working escalator and great detail. I would recommend it if you're into building playsets like that. For LEGO Creator, my personal favorite is the 31116 Safari Wildlife Treehouse, just because of the uniqueness of the alternate builds and the very charming main build of the treehouse. But again, nothing too special here. I probably won't even be getting this on day 1 myself, just because there's so much more interesting stuff to get, so it's not a high priority, I would say. For LEGO Technic, there's nothing too crazy going on either. Maybe the heavy-duty excavator is nice if you're into part recolors like that transparent windscreen, but other than that, nothing too much to see here. So moving on, we can take a look at LEGO Star Wars. The two $20 sets are relatively unremarkable, but maybe you'll want the Microfighter set for the new version of Luke. The most interesting thing for people who do not already own an Imperial Shuttle is, well, obviously the Imperial Shuttle set. For $70, that's the cheapest that LEGO is probably ever going to make it for a reasonable price and a reasonable build, and if you don't already own one, this is probably a good set to get. That being said, as I mentioned, if you already own the Imperial Shuttle and you're into Star Wars, save your money for the summer wave. Moving on to Raya and the Last Dragon, the best set I can probably recommend is sadly just the $30 set, mostly because of the price. I'm gonna be honest, it probably has the weakest build out of the three. The Shrimp Boat is really interesting and a fantastic build to me, and the Palace is probably my favorite build out of all the line. But I can't justify recommending you to spend the $50 on the boat, and even the $80 on the Palace is kind of a stretch, so I'd probably just recommend the $30 set to get a taste of the theme and experience one of the new molds. However, if you aren't on a strict budget and just want to get the best set from the theme, I just recommend the $80 set, which is the Palace, because that one has the most unique architecture and it's unlikely to ever get a LEGO set on that subject in the near future. But moving on from that, we can take a look at LEGO Dots. This one is definitely going to boil down to personal preference, but I would have to say the Narwhal Cube is probably the most useful out of them. As I mentioned, that very useful bubble piece could really be used well in mocks featuring maybe a waterfall or whatnot, trying to add some extra detail, or underwater mocks. Probably a good use of parts there, but again, not the most interesting thing for many AFOLs, so we can move on. Finally, coming to LEGO Video. I cannot in good faith recommend you to spend $20 on any of the Beatbox or Bandmates builds here. I really just feel like it's ridiculous to charge $20 for a single minifigure and some sort of container, especially when this is the exact model that's being used for every other theme for $10. What I can recommend, though, is probably some of the $5 collectible minifigures. Specifically, I think the Shark is done particularly well. For the Ninjago fans of the audience, you may be wanting to pick up the purple recolor of the Garmadon helmet. And for the animal or costume figure collectors, some stuff like the werewolf, the ghost, or even the ice cream man, or even some of the other characters like the panda and the leopard might be good ones to get. But with that, we have summed up every single March 1, 2021 LEGO set. I did not expect this video to go on for 2 hours, but sometimes that tends to happen because there are a ton of new releases coming out for this wave. If you just jumped here and wanted the TLDR, I hope that that short summary of my favorite sets of every theme was useful for you to figure out what sets to buy. And again, I'll be definitely including the timestamps in the description, so if you've made it this far in the video but want to go back and take a look at a few themes in particular, all of the timestamps are there for you to access. But with that, we've about summed up all of the LEGO sets coming out today, plus all my recommendations for people to buy certain sets of different price ranges. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for tuning into Duckbricks, and don't worry, for all of you waiting for the new Construction Bionicle fan and review, that'll be coming out this Wednesday. I just shuffled a few things around to accommodate this video because today is March 1st. I hope that you all enjoy, and hopefully this will help clear things up as to at least my personal opinion on what you should buy, and what's good, what's bad, and what's expensive. Thank you all for tuning into Duckbricks. If you guys like this video format, I'll probably be doing something similar for other set releases if it's appreciated and it does well, so just let me know down in the comments. Do you want to see more videos like this, or what do you want to see from this channel? Thank you all for tuning into Duckbricks, and stay tuned for even more LEGO news, reviews, discussion, and analyses coming your way very soon. Thanks, and bye-bye for now.